Hello, Infinite Masters. Welcome to the Infinite Master Podcast, where every single week we bring you a high-performing world-class leader or expert to help you master your self-esteem and master your life. My name is Richard Cohen. I'll be your host on for today's episode. Today we have a special treat for you. His name is Noah Grossman. He is a actor slash cast member of one of the most popular YouTube channels out there called Smosh. If you don't know about Smosh, Smosh is a entertainment channel that does a lot of skits, funny videos, gaming-related content, and Noah happens to be one of the regulars that is on, where over 1 million viewers view his videos every single week. During this interview, Noah's going to share a little bit more about his story and how he became an actor. Throughout this interview, you might notice that life isn't always about having low self-esteem or high self-esteem, but sometimes life is just about living. And Noah is a really great example of this and offers a really unique perspective versus a lot of the other people that we've had on. And given that he has a different background from the majority of the speakers, I think it's a really nice, fresh perspective that you're going to enjoy in this week's episode. So without further ado, here's Noah Grossman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Noah. That was really cool. That made me feel important. So thank you. As far as what I do, I mainly act, but I also help write a lot of the content that goes up on Smosh, and just in general, trying to live a life of creativity. I don't know. Just trying to keep moving.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much for just being on. It's a huge honor to have you on, and I'm really looking forward to diving in more behind the scenes of what you do, because I think the reason why I wanted to bring you on, by the way, for those of you who don't, because I didn't introduce yet, Noah and I met at VidCon last year, and we were just hanging out at a lounge. We had a cool conversation, and that's kind of how we became friends. And super glad to have you on here. So I think a lot of people get kind of sucked in with this idea of like, ooh, a celebrity, you know, like someone who's popular. And what I want to do is I want to dig a little bit deeper on like what's the behind the scenes. You know, what's your life like? And let's start off with what was your life like growing up? Where did you grow up? What was your family like? And what was your environment like?
Okay. So where did I grow up? I grew up and still am in the San Fernando Valley, in Los Angeles. It's literally the stereotypical valley. Not really much happens here. As far as like the environment I grew up in, I can only describe it as not basic, but like loving, normal. I've got 2 older brothers, 2 great parents who like made us do sports, and I wasn't good at them. So then I got into acting. I don't know, very like clean slate, very, I don't know. I'm happy with how I was raised, like no real religious influences. We celebrated both Christmas and Hanukkah, like no real influence in any direction, just kind of like, whatever you're going to do, just do something. And they always just said yes.
Right on. What was the biggest challenge you had growing up?
I guess the biggest challenge growing up, I don't know if it's really like a challenge, because I guess everyone goes through it. It's just kind of like developing yourself and your own personality. I have 2 older brothers, so obviously I was very influenced by them, and just kind of like really being able to separate myself as like an individual. I think up until I was 18, like literally senior year of high school, I don't think I was an individual like once up until that point. And even now, like obviously I'm learning, I'm young, but I don't know. There's just been a lot of changes in recent years where I feel like even if it's the wrong choice, it was at least my own choice, not influenced in any way. I don't know if that made a lot of sense, but it's what you got.
Yes. So what I heard was a lot of your challenges or things that you're working on growing up, and you're still a teen. You're 19, right?
Yep, turning 20.
Turning 20. February. Yep. I stalked your public info. Right on, man. So what I'm hearing is part of the challenge of growing up in general that most people face is kind of finding ourselves, right?
Some sort of voice. I don't know.
Yeah. So given that you have this very unique path of being an actor for Smosh, and I'm sure you got other things going on for you. How has that played into shaping who you are as a person?
I think like direct impact, like it is more of me than I know, because it's like all I've really experienced. I've never really had a baseline to be able to be like, okay, well, if I wasn't here, I would have been doing this. Like, I don't know. It was literally right out of high school. I left a semester early. I'd already gotten my degree because I'd been working a lot. So I left a semester early and then just immediately like started working in an office, making videos, like filming stuff. I don't know. I've only ever really been on one wavelength, and that was like attempting to act or actively acting. So I don't know. It's just kind of a cool continuation, because if I wasn't doing this, if the magical miracle didn't happen, I would be at some community college trying to be a lawyer or something else. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I got saved from reality for at least now.
Yeah. Nice. Right on, man. How did you end up with Smosh?
So it was just like a normal audition, which for anyone who doesn't or hasn't been on auditions, what it is so you'll either go out and get an agent or a manager. They act as someone they have contacts in the industry, so they'll get notifications when there's auditions. So we're looking for 12 to 16 male Caucasian to play Timmy on Disney or whatever. Okay, so at 3:00, 8 days from now, you got to go in for Timmy. We'll get the sides to you, and then you go in. It's just you and some one dude in a weird tiny room, and you just kind of talk to a camera. Like, it's not as legitimate as you think it would be. So to get working with Smosh, it was like the exact same thing. My agent didn't even get it. This was something my manager had heard from one of her other clients. So it was like some weird underground audition. It wasn't really sent to a lot of people. It felt, not even as a negative, but it felt less legitimate than a normal audition. And I was kind of like, what is this? Like, all it says on the paper is like internet thing, like $150, which I mean is great, but isn't necessarily, okay, is it worth my 6-hour endeavor to show up to this random location, talk to someone in a room with a camera in hopes that 3 weeks from now I'll make $150? It was like, no, I don't really want to do this. I got convinced to go in. I knew that it was Smosh going in. I wasn't like a huge fan, but I had seen, I mean, everyone's been exposed to it a little bit, I think. And so they handed us scripts, sides from one of their sketches, which I recognized. And I was like, oh, I think I've seen this before. So I wasn't sure if it was either Smosh or if it was some other company that didn't have their own sides, like trying to make similar content and then stealing. So I was like unsure, but I went in, read. They had us do like weird accents. They were like, can you do accents? I was like, no, but here's 4. And I did like Western. I don't even remember, but trash, just horrible accents. But the audition was all right. 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, we want you to come into this office and have lunch. And I was like, okay. So showed up to the office. It was like a second audition round. But this time we sat in with Ian, Anthony, the head writer, Ryan Finnerty, Barry Bloomberg, who is like in charge of the whole thing. Yeah, and then I think Ryan Todd was there, our director, but we just like sat down, had like weird, awkward small talk pretty much. I made like a bad joke about Anthony's iPhone Plus. It was like the 7 Plus or 6 Plus, whatever it was. And then it was like, okay. And then 2 weeks after that, they were like, hey, we want to hire you. And I was like, okay, I guess that's how it works.
Make awkward comments and jokes around iPhones and get a job.
Yeah. Okay, now this is, I guess, breaking the interview real quick. I don't know if that was a full good story. Would you want me to put that out better? I don't know if that made full sense.
No, that was good, man.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna roll with this right now. This is real life. Right on, man. Let's see. So I want to touch a little bit more about like self-esteem and kind of building confidence. I know I'm bringing you on because you have a much different perspective than the people I normally interview, and I'm curious from your perspective. I guess where would you say you are personally with your own confidence and self-esteem in your own life right now?
I could only describe it as square one. Like, I don't know. I haven't like discovered any secret to life. It's kind of like the exact same thing it's always been. When I was younger, I think you just don't really think about it. You don't ever like just have those thoughts. But as you get older, it's like you're more developed. I don't know. But then you just get this little voice in your head that's like, oh, do they like you? Or like, oh, this, that. Like for me, as far as my self-esteem goes, whenever I'm working or doing anything creative, perfect, fine. 10 out of 10. I don't even think about it. I'm happy. Like even just drawing to music. It's very easy to just zone out of who you are as a person and just focus on something else. But the moment it's like 6:30, like after 6:30 p.m., it's just bad thoughts. It's like, oh, it's the nighttime and like I don't really have anything to do. All I have left is to eat and then sleep. So I guess I'm just going to think the entire time. So I don't know. I guess just really highs and deep lows. I think that's how it works.
Nice. Are you open to talking a little bit more about the lows?
Sure.
I'm like, what does that look like?
Just like not getting up. Like Sundays are bad days. Sunday is my least favorite day for this because if I don't immediately have something going on, it's just like if I'm in bed past 10, it's the entire day. It's just going to be loathing, which is like, oh, I had one meal today. Like I just kind of laid in bed for 8-10 hours, like unclean, not really liking myself, trying to like scroll through my phone to get rid of it. And then just like coming back to the thoughts every 30-40 minutes. Like, what are you doing? Like, do you deserve what you have? Like other people are doing more. What are you doing? Like, how do you get one up? Are you even good enough? Is it even worth it? Like, should you even try to take a step in the right direction? Because obviously it's going to fail at first, or it could fail, or it's just thoughts. Like, unless I think it probably works for other people, I hope, because that's what I do to keep myself sane. I'm like, oh, other people are like this. Just ignore it. It's like unless you're actively doing something, it's just unrest. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks for that perspective. It's it gives a lot of different just thoughts and perspective. I think sometimes when people look at celebrities or people who are like you, they think of like, oh, this person must have a great life. Life must be perfect in some way. And I think part of this conversation is really trying to understand, what is the like when you're working and when you're not working. Yeah. I mean, personal experience, just like meeting some of these people and like seeing it myself and what I have to do to like be successful in the world to a certain degree is like whenever you look, I mean, especially social media, just because it's designed to only display one side of you. But when you're looking at a celebrity, like it's groomed what you're looking at purposefully, whether it's by them or by a team, which is you can judge, okay, do I like this celebrity or are they just a product meant to move a bunch of bullshit to sell to people who aren't old enough to have their own credit card? Yeah. You have to like, just kind of be like, oh, damn, she looks really good because they spent 45 minutes on that photo. And like, this is what she did today. That was like her job today was to look good for other people. Whether or not she's feeling good, the entire image she displays has to be almost unobtainable in order to keep you coming back. I don't know. Do you ever feel like you are treated in that way?
Yes and no. I don't think I'm like really big enough just because it's not necessarily all my own success. It's very much part of a group. But like there are people that will definitely, and some of it is for attention, which I understand. Like if I was 13 and had a computer, I'd do the exact same thing. I'd be tweeting Brad Pitt all day long, like, oh my God, talk to me, please. But I think it's also got to be like fan base. For me, the people that I interact with are usually a little bit more moderate or at least coming at you with real communication, whether it's a joke or anything. It's kind of, I don't know. Yes. So to answer the question, yes, there are people that will try to treat you like you're something more. It's almost a double-sided knife because you're also giving them something. I'm someone who's very much like, I don't like having someone have one up on me. I don't like giving you something you want. If I'm aware that you want it, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you don't get it. So when you tweet me something that is supposed to get my attention, is very much designed to make me interact with you, I'm going to do the exact opposite because I know that you went into it with that goal. Like, do you really like my content that much, or are you just tweeting at me like, oh my God, you're the best. You helped me when I was down, when I was 4 hearts. It's like, it makes it a little difficult when someone is trying to be legitimate. I don't know. I don't even know what question I answered. I just felt like talking.
There we go. Right on. Let's see. What would you say, if you don't mind sharing, what would you say is your greatest insecurity right now?
See, that one's weird because it's definitely attached to like my entire persona as a whole. Because it's not even glasses, and it's not even like the fact that I'm not as physically attractive as I would like to be.
Please, man, please.
It's like the combination of both. It's just like my insecurity is hiding. My insecurity is the fact that people expect a response from me, or that any response from me does something. Like the fact, I don't even know. My insecurity is just making a choice. I don't like making choices because choices affect other things, and I'm not trying to affect other things. I'm just trying to do one thing, and it's got nothing to do with you. I don't need you to be involved in it. I don't know why you're involved in it. I'm just trying to move forward. I don't know. So I guess my insecurity is moving forward. That is so open-ended.
So let's see. You say your insecurity is moving forward. Tell me a little bit more about what that means to you.
I guess like making any concrete step that you can't come back from. I guess just because I feel like I haven't really defined myself yet. I guess it's more fear of being defined. I don't like. Yeah. See, it's very pick and choosy. It's very like slightly hypocritical, I guess, me as a person. So I don't want you to define who I am.
Yeah.
Well, automatically by looking at me, and at the same time that somewhat gives me validation. So it's like I am secretly looking for your opinion, even though I want to do everything I can to never hear it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. For me personally, I just love hearing whatever you're saying, because it's what I'm getting away from this conversation is it's just a nice way to understand the thoughts that go on through your head, just as another human being, being put into this context of where you are in your life and your career and everything like that. Let's see. I'm just kind of curious. This might be a little bit deep of a question I asked you earlier. The question is, what would you say, like, would you be willing to share with people, like, what would you say was the most, I don't know, challenging or maybe even traumatic moment of your life, and have us like relive it? The purpose of this being really to understand a little bit more about you and like how your challenges has shaped who you are today.
This is difficult for me, and I'm going to bring it there whether or not people like it brought there. Like, I am unfortunately a like middle-class white male who went to like a good school because I was in a good area. Like, I have been given, everybody before me has set it up so that there is never a problem in my life, whether that be my parents, 80 years ago, the invention of water pipes. Like, everything is set up for me to have the smoothest life that I can. And I think like I've taken advantage of that somewhat. At least I've ended up somewhere, even though I've like pissed so much of it away. But I guess as far as traumatic, I don't know if there's anything like specifically traumatic, more just like, I feel like every 4 years I just go through like a small mind shift switch, which I think everyone does, but I don't know, just like weird stuff. Like, I remember in elementary school, like 3rd grade to 5th grade, I had like a 2-year period where I just don't know why the thoughts went into my head ever, but I just woke up one day and then I was like, oh, I don't know why I woke up. Like, it occurred to me that every day was very much scheduled, and like I didn't really have any choice in it. And it was just kind of like, oh, I'm just experiencing this forever. Like, why did I necessarily get up? And it wasn't until 2 years later that my grandpa said something to me that was so weird. Over that course of 2 years, I don't know how, but I guess my mindset changed how I physically looked, in the sense that ever since I was just like, oh, I don't know why I'm waking up, my eyes just started like drooping a little more. Like, I just had my eyes less closed. Like, that was just a more lazy, relaxed state. And my grandpa just looked at me. He was like, why are your eyes closed? Like, open up your eyes. Look around. And I was just like, oh, snap. Like, oh, this is why I'm here. Like, I'm here just to interact with stuff, I guess. I don't know how trauma brought me to that. That's where we are. That was the most traumatic experience I've ever had, was my grandpa telling me to open my eyes.
Awesome. And what I got away from that, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard was pretty much this was a moment where essentially you're like, oh shoot, I gotta like open up my eyes and like start living a little bit more, or like
Yeah,
around
I
me.
guess more of the idea that like I'm here, whether or
Yeah.
not in my perspective, like obviously when you're looking, you don't see yourself. I only
Yeah.
see everyone else. Like in my mind, I'm the last person I think about, as in how I look, how I'm physically interacting with the world.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like whether or not you want to, you are here and I can see you. You can't hide. Like, hey, open your eyes. Like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, talk to me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Powerful, man. You know, I've mentioned this a few times, during our talk right now, but there's so much that we could learn from just talking and observing. For me, how you live your life is very, it's not like very different, but in a way, your perspective is very different in the way that I see things. Because from my perspective, I grew up with a lot of self-doubt, a lot of just insecurities, focus on myself. And it's great to see your perspective where it's not all about self-doubt and, it's about like producing, and it's about like engaging with what's around you and creating. And the value that I got away from this conversation so far is really that you have a perspective, and anyone is capable of having whatever perspective they choose. So I love that we don't need to live a life where it's just all about like these negative thoughts that we have. So that's what I love about this.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as like negative thoughts go, I was trying to think back on the question you had asked earlier. Like, I think it's just like a constant. I think this should be for everyone. Like any choice you make, like I don't know, like something as simple as, I guess when you're acting or something like that, you can visually see what you chose and choices in, in this scene, I'm supposed to be angry and I wasn't necessarily angry enough, or this angry doesn't seem real, or it seems like this, or maybe it should be angry like this. Like everything you do has so many infinite fractals that each of them can be happy, each of them can be sad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what value that statement had, but it made me happy. So there we go.
Right on. Do you ever, whenever you're acting or performing your craft, do you ever, how do you respond to the way you act or do something? Are you oftentimes like upset or like, oh, I wish I could have done that better?
That is, if you were on set after every take, that is my statement. Oh, I can do that better. I can do this better. I can do that better. I can do this, because always you can do it better. I don't think anything I do is good. And I guess that would be my negative thoughts. That's just like the general statement. I don't think anything I do is good, or if it is, I'm not the best part in it. Not saying that I should always be the star, or that I think you're always your worst critic. Like I can see where I can do better.
Yeah. Do you think that thought is serving you or not serving you?
Both. It's not serving me in the sense that I don't necessarily do as much as I should to avoid the thought from coming back. In the sense of, if I really thought that I wasn't good enough, if I truly thought I wasn't good enough, I wouldn't be doing it, because I would be taking the place of someone who I think should be doing it. I think I'm good enough to be here, but I don't think I'm as good as the best. And if I really wanted to get rid of the thought of I'm not as good as the best, I would attempt to become the best, but I'm too busy just being right where I am. So the thoughts still come. Like if I was playing tennis and I was like, damn, there's no reason for me to play tennis because I'll never be as good as Serena Williams. Well, the answer would be, you're right. Stop playing or start playing like Serena Williams. So if I am upset that I'm not Brad Pitt, well, the answer is start living like Brad Pitt. Literally, just be Brad Pitt. Like I learned from example. If he's done it. Take those exact same steps, and I promise you, you will be twice as good because you will have learned from someone else.
Awesome, man.
That I don't put in the practice I need to.
Right on. Let's see. What is something interesting that most people don't know about you?
I don't know how normal I am, how like boring, like literally anyone watching this who is under 18 or was ever in any sort of public school system, like I'm literally the kid that you pass in the hall and you either have no thoughts about them or you have like a slight negative or a very slight positive. Like nobody that you would ever give a second thought about. Like friends with a lot of people at my school, but never actual friends. I didn't hang out with people after school. Like, oh, you're my friend from second period. Okay, this is as far as we're going to get. Like, I don't know. I guess what you would have never known is that like you wouldn't have talked to me and I wouldn't have talked to you. I don't know.
That's great, man. I love it. Let's see. If you were to give someone a tip who is struggling with their self-esteem and believing in themselves, what advice would that be?
Okay, so this is obviously something that I'm like struggling with and trying to learn from. Yeah. And it's something I'm starting to learn from friends that I'm like creating with, whether that be something as simple as both of us are drawing in the same room and draw anything. I don't even draw pictures. Like my art is trash. But you have to understand that you are always going to be the worst to yourself. Everyone else's opinion, and this is when it gets rough. Everyone else's opinion is always going to mean more to you because it's somewhat objective. You're out of it completely. And that gets rough when you get positive and negative comments because some of the negative comments will say exactly what you think. And you just have to ignore that. But once you get a positive comment on something that you thought was trash, so like I can't play piano for my life. I am horrible at it, horrible musician. But I'll still have fun, like open up Logic, like make some dumb stuff. I made a trash beat, like literal garbage on a scale of 10, 1.5 if. I play it for someone, and immediately this dude's like, oh, I really like this, and starts writing a rap to it. And I'm like, dude, this is bad. And you know that it's not as good as other stuff that you've heard. But the fact that you said that it was good, I don't know, it just felt good. It was like, oh, snap, someone else's opinion is all I needed on my project to make me okay. So I guess just keep asking people, put it out there. Even if they're all shitty comments, even if your stuff does suck, like just keep doing it until it's good. Someone will like it. I don't know.
There we go. There we go, man. Right on. All right. So let's see. We're about ready to wrap this up. Before we head off, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to keep in contact with you?
I guess tweet at me. Follow at Noah Grossman 214 at Noah Grossman 214. On Twitter, I'm pretty active. I try to be active on everything. So like if you got something to say, I'll see it. Whether or not I respond, know that I saw it.
There we go. Thank you so much, man. Last question. Any final comments that you have for people who are just watching this podcast?
Make shit, learn from example. In the sense of, I've watched videos where never in my life will I be a music producer or a good singer, but I'll watch videos of Beyonce's music producer showing you what he does, and you'll see he'll explain, like, I don't know, everyone. I'm going to restart that one. Let's really put together some statement. Everyone is the same. Everyone is the same. Everyone is capable of the exact same things. You just have to get to that level. Like you could be a United States Olympic gymnast if you wanted to. Just put in the work. Shit. That got me thinking.
What do we do with our lives? All right, man. Noah, thank you so much for being on. Everyone else, that's Noah Grossman. Thank you so much. Again, we got you could hit him up on Twitter, any of the social media. We got Noah Grossman 241. Was that it?
214.
214.
Yeah.
Oh, your birthday.
Mm-hmm. I know.
There we go.
When I was young.
Good stuff, man. All right, thanks, man. High five that.
Oh, boom.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Infinite Mastery Podcast. For more help on how you build your self-esteem and more inspiration, check out infinitemastery.org and be sure to subscribe to our email list because we shoot out emails every single Monday and you're going to get a lot of great advice there. In addition, we have a private Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/infinite mastery, where you can discover more and connect with like-minded peers to build up your self-esteem and start owning the life that you desire. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.